So which of the GSP kaiju do you think is the most powerful? Of course Godzilla, I hear you groan, and you'd be right, which is why it's kind of pointless to include him on here. But other than the big G, I thought it was worth a quick vid ranking what I think are the most powerful kaiju featured. But other than the big G, I thought it was worth a quick vid to rank what I think are the most powerful kaiju featured in Season 1. I'm also going to give you my personal favourites, but again, I'm a design guy, so that's based mostly on how they look. And lastly, I'll give you the results of a poll that I did to see which one was your favourite monster. Now, when putting these guys into any kind of order, of course there's going to be a large portion of speculation in the mix, as we don't really have much to go on. Like, it's not like we had a Salunga versus Manda fight, or an Anguirus versus Kumonga fight, or many fights at all, to be able to help us out here. But who needs evidence for anything these days, right? But let's get started. And first up, I would say it's a fairly safe bet for the weakest of the bunch to be Season 1's version of Mothra, which of course is still in its infancy. Look at this thing. What happens later is another matter. Then I would rank in the Meganulons, mainly because of their size compared to the other kaiju. I mean, they could still take a huge chunk out of a person, but if they were to go up against any of the other creatures on this list, I think they'd always come off second best. The only way I can think that they would beat any of the other creatures would be by swarming them, but we don't know what kind of numbers there are of them, so I'm pushing that aside. You're with me so far? Stay with me now! I know what your attention spans are like. This is where things start to get interesting. Now just bear in mind that I am comparing the fully matured final forms of each creature here, and I would put the Kumonga up next. They do have lethal attributes, of course, and you can check out my vid focusing just on the Kumongas if you want to know more about that. But like the Meganulons, I feel that most of their strength comes from their numbers. If you took just one of these and put it up against any other one from this list, this probably gets hammered like a humble housefly. Next up, I'm gonna say Anguirus. This guy was given a really cool new look for this show, covered in spikes and teeth and with that awesome spiked tail. And in his final and largest form, he's a pretty worthy opponent for anyone he comes up against. Plus, he can see the damn future, at least a few seconds of it. So I think he definitely has the Kumonga beat, like he could probably take on several of them, but I just don't see him being able to take on a fully grown Rodan, or let's say this Manda, who's pretty much the same size as Ultima. Again, if in Season 2 he reaches another level and grows even further, different story. Next, I would put Manda, purely because of his sheer size and ability to constrict. But this guy is the closest that Ultima gets to a real fight, and although he's quickly dealt with, he does show off the power in those massive jaws. I do wonder if this fight would have gone down differently if it had taken place in the water. I'm sure Ultima would have still have won. It might just not have been so easy for him. We do see Aquatilus slaughtering one of these just before he turns into Amphibia, and of course makes pretty short work of it, but you know. But then in this show, Godzilla goes through kaiju like a knife goes through butter, so I'm not sure we can take anything from that. Then I'm putting the largest of the Rodan forms, and I know this might not be a popular opinion, but I just think that this, being the only creature in Season 1, bar GZ of course, that we see using any kind of energy attack, puts him in another league to the majority of the other creatures. I would have really liked to have seen this attack fully unleashed to see what it can actually do. Its size and its flying ability puts it above Anguirus and the Kumonga, and that energy attack just gives it the edge over the Manda in my book. Although, I think that would be a great fight if the Manda could get a hold of this guy and get its squeeze on. He might be the one who struts away. Or slithers away, whatever the Mandas do. Shit, I was trying to get through this video without swearing. Bah! Fail! Ah, fuck it then. Anyway, next, I would put Jet Jaguar PP, just because, well, we saw what it could do as it reached its peak potential, and was the only one who actually held a candle to the big lizardy guy in an actual fight. I mean, there was still no contest, but you know what I'm saying. And the last, the one that struck me as the most powerful of the bunch was the final form of Salunga, where in the last episode he suddenly goes from a plodding sloth monkey to a ferocious singular point devouring anger beast. Why they left this to the last episode, I don't know. If they'd have let this raging killing machine out of the bag sooner, the whole series would have had a different feel. He suddenly has snarling teeth, terrifying claws, and acrobatic skills that an actual acrobat might be jealous of. If he was prone to getting jealous of things, I don't know. I do understand why the final battle had to be Jet Jaguar versus the King G, but damn, this guy would have put up so much more of a better fight. I seem to get worse at speaking my own language every single day. This guy would have put up a much better fight just because of how aggressive we've seen he can be. And of course, the Big G trounces them all with one fell swing of his massive lizard meat. But I've spoken so much about this guy already that I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself if I, talk more about him. Now please let me repeat, you are currently hearing the words of a man who probably doesn't have all of his cuckoos clocking. So don't take it too seriously if my list doesn't line up with yours. Just get in the comments and let me know how you would rank these guys. Now, over to the poll, which overall really surprised me actually, based on 86 votes. Because I'm a huge channel. Kumonga came in last with only 2%, followed by Manda with only 5%, which was a surprise to me actually, which I really thought he would come in higher. Then Salunga with 17%, and then Rodan with 21%. No surprise with who comes in top though, as Anguirus was the overwhelming winner with 55%. Yeah! Yeah! In your fucking face! Now, of course, I didn't include the Big G because everyone would have just voted for him. So Anguirus was the most popular creature in this thing, bar Godzilla, of course. I think that's probably a fair result. Anyway, lastly, I just wanted to talk about the creature redesigns, and the ones that really stood out to me were the Manda. I really like the way he looked in Final Wars, but that version was more dragon-like, whereas this guy is kind of more snake-like or eel-like. And especially when you see him here with his teeth out and he's ready to go, he looks badass. My least favorite would be the very first version of the Rodan. I know there might be reasons why it looks so much like a pterodactyl, but to me it just kind of lacks imagination. Just grab a pterodactyl and make it pink. It's not really enough for me. Bad creative director, bad! Getting paid for choosing shapes and colors, not even getting that right. And I think that as that was the first monster we saw, it turned a lot of people off, and it was a really shit first impression. But by its last form, I was really kind of okay with it, but I do feel they could have done a lot more with Rodan. I also didn't really like Amphibia, which probably isn't a surprise to many, and honestly, I was kind of indifferent to the Aquatilis design. But I did start to like the Terrestris design, and of course, once I'd warmed up to Ultima, I really, really liked it, and I will be forking out for the SH Monster Arts figure as soon as I can get one. And to finish off, I concur with the poll. My most favorite is this guy. This iteration of the character is no doubt the coolest this character has ever looked, in my book, while still staying true to the original character's design. Oh, who's a good creative director? Yes, good job, creative director, good job. So there we have it, and I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments below. As ever, many thank yous for taking the time to watch my videos. It means a lot to me. My next GSP video is probably going to be about how GSP was received overall. But until then, please feel free to get out of my head, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and cheerio, bye!